Yo, what it do? We are back with yet another episode of the Tried and True podcast, where I like to keep it a buck in all pennies with my viewers, y'all, and my guests. Speaking of guests, we have someone who I've been waiting to be able to see again for so long. It's been years. Very excited about just this conversation that we're going to have. Y'all know I'm super conversational. I'm educational first, but I'm super conversational. So anytime I get to talk to someone of a certain caliber, that's the exciting piece. And today we have Lil Fresh Sam in the building. How you doing?
Up? It's a great day to be alive.
It is. I think every day that we're above ground is a pretty solid day.
Sure is.
Yes. So I'm not gonna, get too heavy on the pod, but I'm very curious if you have an answer for the people who may or may not know who you are. I don't want to kind of give away all the goods about what you do and who you are, but who is Lil Fresh Sam?
Simply put, fashion designer, wardrobe stylist, a motivational speaker, and just a human who likes to help others.
It's funny because I think you remind me so much of things that I want to and like to do, and I don't think people know enough about your inspirational, motivational side, because I think you're so well known for fashion. But I think that as your social medias have become super popular, you have one of my favorite Twitter pages, period, I think.
Really?
Yeah, just on the internet.
Hell yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but I think that's something that I really would like for people to understand more about your personality, because even when I think that Friendsgiving is when we met.
I think it is, yeah.
That was, I don't know what year that was.
Me neither.
That was years ago. That was
at least
like
a couple years, 3 years ago, at least.
It was at least 3 ago. I actually think it was closer to like 4 years, maybe even going on 5. Am I pushing it?
Maybe.
All right, I might be pushing a little bit. It just feels like forever.
It does.
But I think that's even when we met, and I had already known you for fashion, just because I'm a fashion head, but I'm not. There's a certain level, there's levels, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not at the level of a Lil Fresh Sam, but when we started having our just a conversation, I don't actually remember meeting you. Mm-hmm. I just remember that we instantly it just clicked.
Talked about something like deep.
Something came up and we both just started going.
Yeah, that's typically how it happens.
That's actually how it always happens with me. But yeah, I just thought that was so dope. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to be sure I brought you on too, is because I would like to be able to use my platform to service that side of your person.
Okay.
I said that very eloquently. Yeah. So fashion designer. I'm trying not to hit my bullet points early, but that kind of actually leads to one of my bullet points, an actual question that I have. I want to know what got you started in creative work in general. That's my first little question. About what got you started in creative work in general, because it seems like a perfect fit for you.
Yeah, I definitely was born to be creative. When did I first start creating? Is that the question?
When did you first, I want to say, what got you into it as on a business side?
It's crazy. I wouldn't say I even got into it in a business side until like a year ago, when I was like, damn, being a starving artist sucks. I'm too dope for this. So I never really cared about the business side of creation. I love creating, create or die,
Yeah.
I started creating when I was in the 8th grade in the computer lab, and I came up with the name Infatué. And
That's
I'm
so funny.
I'm gonna have a clothing line one day.
Yep.
And here we are, So I would say that's the first time I was creating. But I've been creating since I was a kid. My mom got me a disposable camera, and I remember in New Mexico visiting my grandpa, and I arranged my Beanie Babies.
Are you from New Mexico?
No, I'm from Denver.
Dang. Okay, because I spent so much time in Albuquerque, so anytime
That's
a person
exactly
says
where I
New
was.
Mexico, oh, word.
Yeah.
Okay,
My
Albuquerque
grandpa
in the
was
house.
from there, or living there. Yeah.
Yep, solid.
But I've been creating since I was a kid.
When would you say that was the start? It's so funny because you have Infatué, but I get very infatuated with the origins of things. Mm-hmm. And when you say the disposable camera, obviously there are some people young people who probably have no clue how to even use a disposable camera, but I understand when you take it back to having it develop, even using a disposable camera in its own and having to develop photos and take them and frame them and do stuff with them is a creative process in itself. But you being a kid and getting that camera, when was that?
Yo, it was beyond just cameras. Like I people ask me to like give a title or label. I literally just gave one for a panel I'm going to be on, and they're like, "What are you?" And I'm like, I really hate defining myself by a label, and I really, in general, hate defining ourselves by labels. But
Same.
I mean, I've been creating since I can like remember being alive. Like I was throwing concerts. I remember like literally throwing a concert to like NSYNC, and I had like I placed not t-shirts. I placed chairs in like the garage or the backyard and like threw a concert with my little cousins. Like I was always creating. I love creating, and I used to limit myself by calling myself a fashion designer.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I used to think I could only be one thing. I was told that like early on in my career, you have to focus on one. But I'm really good at a lot of things, and I really love a lot of things. I just literally declared myself a content creator today, and I've been doing it professionally or like being paid for it for the last like year, 2 years, 3 years. But I didn't feel like confident enough to be like, oh, I can be that too, you know, because we get defined in these one label boxes.
We get convinced.
Yeah, and it's not real.
It starts so early. It starts
does.
extremely. It starts before, like, I shouldn't even have to know what I am by the time they start trying to convince me of this one thing that I am. Mm-hmm. It's unusual. That's how I used to feel about.
There's a lot of labels.
There's a lot of labels, and what people will do is they try to take kids, and because of whatever their demographic is, you only have a couple of things that you get to pick from.
Facts.
And you don't even get to choose before someone tries to pick one for you. And then before you should even have to know, you have people telling you that you have to know, and they've already chosen something for you, kind of those who came before you. It's a very unusual thing that it's unusual the ways people use to vicariously live through children. I think it's unusual.
That and the way our society operates. Like, you know, my friend Leslie Harrod, she's a state representative in Colorado, and she was telling me that you can tell what someone is going to be like or how long they can live by their zip code.
Oh,
so they already, you know, just tell me your zip code, I'll tell you. It's crazy. But beyond that, that's literally what. Yeah, it is.
They use that.
That's why I go so hard though, because I'm like, yo, you don't have to. I just said it today. You don't have to be defined by a person, place, or thing. You know, like. You don't have to be held back by those either. You
shouldn't. And it's interesting even though when you say it that way, because I believe that not only is every profession art, but each person's life is a work of art, and you can be the creative designer of your life. It can start as one thing and finish as whatever you want. It's like a story that is not already written. You are writing it
every day.
And it can, because it can end the way that you want it to end, you can control this narrative. Your narrative. You control your narrative. So you can take it whichever way you want, because you're still, like I was saying before, you're still above ground. So it's not like your movie is over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. That's so funny that you said that you like my Twitter page, because it's like literally like my journal. And I just like, you know, I said the other day, I was like, yo, I think we literally forget we have choice. Like, we are the choice makers of our life. We are in control. But I often see so many people like out of control, you know, and it's like they don't even realize it. And it's sad. And I just want to bring awareness to that. You know, we are the choice makers of our life, like you said.
I'm very curious about, we kind of discussed a bit of your origin. I kind of want to know why fashion in particular, and which will lead me to another important question I've kind of been wondering for probably a couple of weeks, but why fashion in particular?
That's a good question. I never even literally thought about that till right now. The last year I've been diving into like root causes and that like childhood trauma, like why do I do the things? Why do I think the way I think? Like everything, like really deep. And I don't know, fashion just is something like I can wear. I feel like I was always just obsessed with it. I don't know what initially sparked that, but I think just being able to be myself, like
that's so
I was always like kind of, and I'm finally like starting to speak up about this, but like I was always like suppressed by certain people in my family and like, you know, told like, yo, you're not great. Like you're not special. Like sit down, shut up. Like you're not pretty. Like literally belittling me. And like, I'm like getting through a lot of that right now, but I'm learning like I just wanted to be myself, and like whether that was like shiny or like standing, blending in. Like I wanted to be myself, and fashion let me do that. And then as I started to design, I'm like, yo, I can really like completely design what I look like. And that's so fun.
I love the way you said that. Being the designer of your life, being the designer of the image that you decide you want to portray, just the whole thing. And it's funny because you said you just wanted to be yourself. And I don't know that when a kid is not suppressed in certain ways, I don't know that they have those thoughts so early, like in complex ways. But I think every child wants to, like, intrinsically, they really just want to be able to express themselves. It's just like babies. They cry about everything. Then when they stop crying, they just talk, but they don't even know words. They're just fiending for expression. They want to express the things they're thinking. They don't even know English or Spanish or Mandarin or whatever they speak yet.
Yeah.
They just make noise. They just want to express. And then somewhere down the line, like for me, for example, I just stopped talking or I just stopped reacting to things. It was that suppression. From a child, like the doctors told my mom that I was a mute. First they told her I was deaf. When I was a baby, I just stopped reacting. And then they told her I was mute as I started to get older. And then they told my parents and me that I was remedial, and they started putting me in like special classes and all this stuff, none of which were true. But my reactions to that were, I felt bound to it. So my actions when I was out in public, or just the things I chose to do with myself, were like I was rebelling against the thoughts that people had about me. And I was doing things just to let them know that they couldn't choose for me. Yeah. So when you talk about just wanting to express, and fashion was one of the first ways that you saw to do that, same. It's funny because I'm like a super fashion head. And I used to draw a lot. I love art and art just in general, and imagery and self-expression is just it's just the most magnificent thing ever. And before I was confident in the way I talked, because I didn't know words like that. Like I talked like, I started out in the Bay and then going to New Mexico and then coming here. Even when I did talk, people didn't even understand what I was talking about because the slang that I would use was just completely foreign to everybody. So I stopped talking. So I would dress different. Then I got into some stuff that was like, okay, I didn't even have a lot of clothes and stuff like that. So then the music came along and I got deeper into the music. So I was kind of guided into using words as my number one form of expression. And next to that is my image and my imagery, like the way that people portray them. It's just so fascinating the way you can manipulate it to your benefit so that you can express whatever you want that day, just when you wake up. And not to get on like a soapbox, but what you just said, I just believe is so relevant just for the viewers and people who are listening. That's a piece to rewind and unpack on your own. If you're watching and listening to this, rewind that and unpack that about yourself. Like, what are the ways that I have been suppressed even to this day? What are some things that I'm doing that I'm subconsciously doing that to fight against this suppression? And what are some healthy ways that I can move in expressing myself so I can experience freedom?
Yes.
So I don't know. That's just a big, what you said there was just a big deal. So I had to kind of.
I love that. I love that way you summed it up. Like,
yeah.
Good questions.
That kind of leads
good
me.
Answers.
Your answers. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, I knew what it was going to be. So that leads me to my other question though. When we talk about people being themselves, you're talking about being uniquely you, because every you is unique. What age did you start to realize that you were unique in the ways that benefit you now?
I didn't realize it, I didn't realize it was unique or it was going to benefit me now, but I just was like, yo, I'm tired of like not feeling like I can just dress the way I want to. So I remember like it was a pivotal moment in high school. And I just remember being like, yo, I'm just going to wear whatever I want. Like if I want to wear, if it was when 2-color shirts, like, you do the red one and the white one underneath. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, if I want to wear this, like I'm going to wear this. And I remember having this contest with this senior and he was like, I can dress fresher than you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let's go. Yo, we had a contest. I went to the mall. I spent all day.
Every high school did that.
I don't know.
I don't think they do it now.
It was like, no, and it wasn't like school organized. It was just this kid that like, I remember his name was Jesse and he just like, thought he was cooler than me. And it was a guy and I'm like, girl. And I'm like, I'm a freshman and you're a senior, but okay, cool. Let's go. So that was the day, or not the day, but just around that time was the time where I was like, yo, I can just wear what I want, be what I want, And yeah, forever more.
I think that wearing what you want goes along with being what you want. And I think it helps you control the narrative of yourself in your mind as well. Even when you say it like that and you bring up high school, like even to this day, I use the way I dress as a form of therapy. And when I wake up, like when we were in high school, we had this thing that came up randomly. I don't know who created the first one, but it was called the Fresh List.
Really?
And it was like a list of the top 10 freshest people in the school and why. And
That's
everyone just was in such an uproar about the list. But it's funny because after the list came out, you seen like the rest of the month, people were pulling out their best outfits. And me and the homie were just pulling out like the most unique stuff we could find. I was like, yo, I don't have any like expensive things like that. I did in my senior year. I had a lot of SBs kind of. I had some SBs on deck. All right, I ain't gonna cap. I had some SBs on deck. So I didn't have a lot of like designer stuff or anything, but I was like, it really caused me to get in my unique bag, where I was like, ooh, how can I set myself apart in these ways? And that's why I say, did every high school have a fresh list? Because it's like we had this fresh list that came out and everybody trying to dress better. And then this other it was like Rangeview had one and then like Cherokee Trail. And I'm just like, did everybody do it?
Yeah, no, I wish.
I don't know, but
I grew up in the suburbs.
Yeah, well, see,
on the opposite side of the city.
It's a little. There were some differences.
Yeah.
In the school system, but all that to say, like even to this day, when I wake up, I imagine not only the mood I'm in, but how do I want the rest of my day to go, and I dress that way. So my mom has this saying, like, you dress good, you eat good, you feel good.
Facts.
And like you dress good, you look good, you eat good, you feel good is how she says it. But it's really like I just say you dress good, you eat good, you feel good because it's relevant to fashion. I'm kind of a fashion head. So I'm just like, dressing good is relative to you. So you decide you want to wake up and wear what you want to wear. You want to wear this. If you feel good, you are controlling the narrative of your day, that way. If I decide I want to wear my favorite joggers and extreme execution shirt and my Nike hat and my Cortez is like, I feel fantastic. Like my tube socks pulled up over my ankles because they're not fitted, like whatever. I feel so good. It just makes me feel so good. Then another person might want to walk out in a tailored suit that day. But I don't ever encourage a person to put on, don't wear me in attempt to be a better you.
Yeah.
Because you're going to try to do me and no one could do me better than me.
Exactly.
And no one else can do you. So I don't know. It's just a disservice to the environment when you're not uniquely you. And I wonder, I'm starting to ask everyone about that question. What age did you realize that you were unique in certain ways? Because some people have these pivotal moments where like something happens and it just lets them know like, oh, I think I'm very different. And it might feel negative at the time as a kid. It might be something that's just super like, dang, I wish, like, why I gotta be this way? And you get older and you become like a Lil Fresh Sam or a Coach Solly and you're like, I had to be that kid because now I'm that adult.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, man, whole childhood set me up for right now. Like, it's crazy. Like I said, I've been diving into, my context, sorry. I've been diving into why I do the things I do, why the programming, unlearning, all the stuff. But one of the things I was like getting to the root cause of, I'm working on this documentary and I don't want to say the name yet, but it's about trauma. And I was like trying to like root cause of why I started my brand. And it was literally like from trauma. But the moment I realized I was special or that I was meant for something more is I was literally, it's sad, R.I.P. Kayla, but like I was literally sitting in a circle with like all my childhood best friends and I don't agree with this. So I'm just being honest. I'm being vulnerable. Like we were literally in a circle after work. I was 16. I was hanging out with people that were older than me and they were into like pills and stuff. And they were like, they pressured me a lot, but I didn't fall into peer pressure often. I didn't care for drugs because I saw, my hero throw his life away from drugs. And so I just wasn't into it. But that day I remember like being peer pressured to take Xanax for the first time with them. And they were this is things they did on the regular. Like they just sat around and like, in my opinion, like kind of wasted their life. And, I remember sitting there that day and I like did it, but I was like sitting there and I was like so regretful. I was like, man, like, we went around the room and everybody was like, well, can you see yourself doing this for the rest of your life? And like these other girls, not my childhood best friends, but the other girls that we had worked with, they were like, yeah, like they had kid on the way. They were married or boyfriend, like 1-bedroom apartment. They were like cool with that. And I just remember I'm like, yo, I cannot settle for this. Like, this is not okay for me. I need so much more, so much more. Not just a little much more. I need so much more. And so that moment I realized like I was different. But yeah, like my brand was created because I wanted to be the opposite of what I saw an example of.
I got to write this question down before I forget it because I want to talk to you about your brand now. But
Okay.
there's an important question, something that I wanted to bring up. Just give me 1 second. But first of all, actually, so it's pronounced Infatué.
Yep.
Not Infatué.
No, Infatué.
Infatué, okay. But you know I asked that because the E.
Yeah, and everybody does.
Okay.
I don't know.
I just
am like, yeah, that might be how you maybe pronounce it, but I don't know. I pronounce it Infatué.
Infatué. Well, it is what you say it is.
Right.
I'm following. It's your world.
That's kind of how I made it.
So it's Infatué. Why Infatué?
Because it means infatuated in French.
Ah.
Yeah. And infatuated, like I said, in that 8th grade computer lab, I was like looking up definitions for different words. And it was words that made sense for how I felt around fashion. And so I was like, yo, I'm obsessed with fashion. Like, why do I feel this way? Like, I'm like, it's everything. And infatuated was the word, but it was too long. So I looked it up in different languages.
Syllable wise, it's a lot of syllables.
Yeah, infatuated.
Infatuated. That's a super like branding, marketing thing, like plug right there for people.
But and it's crazy because I didn't realize it was like really developed into a lifestyle brand. Like you're infatuated with it, what you do. You know, like a lot of people are infatuated with what they do. So it's like it can resonate.
That does resonate actually very heavily. And I never asked you that about Infatué, but me kind of having certain conversations with you, I figured your answer would be something along those lines. But just for people who don't know, I think that's phenomenal. There was one other thing. Oh, so that is so funny because what I was going to talk about anyway has a lot to do with what your lifestyle brand kind of stands for. And it's also, I do want to say this. I love that you turned your brand, you didn't have to turn it into, but you allowed it to be a lifestyle brand that represented your, I want to say one of your, I don't even know if it's a core value or a moral code, but it's almost like it's just a reality. It's a truth.
Yeah, it's
and
an everyday thing.
A lot of people, they start their businesses or whatever their brands may be, and it might not be a person it might not be a personal brand, but they won't allow it to be their lifestyle brand. And I think that's so wrong because you eliminate a lot of opportunity for longevity and depth that way when you don't do that. And that's the same reason why I chose like Tribal Haven for my my company name, because it's people like you and I are very few and far between, but there are a lot of human beings on earth. So we're out there. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times what we do comes with being ostracized early on. It comes with being separated. And when you develop a certain level of uniqueness, it's like being the mutants and the X-Men. At first, you're kind of like, why do I have to be the one in my family that's like this? Right. That gets me bullied. That gets me, I can't fit into any group. And people talk about it now, like, you don't want to fit in, you want to be, but it's like after a certain point, it's like, yo, I'm not trying to fit in necessarily with society, but it's cool to know that there are other people like me out there. And I think a lot of people don't know where their tribe is. So I started Tribal Haven as a way to bring young professionals and just professionals in general who still are living life as whole humans. Not, you don't have to be super 100% clean cut. All your corners are sharp, but not, and you're not ever around shape. Like whole human beings who are trying to figure it out and figuring it out. This is your safe haven. So it's Tribal Haven. For those people who don't necessarily have a tribe, where they are, you might not fit in all the environments that you're in on a daily. This is your Tribal Haven. So it's like turning the company, morphing it to fit your truth, not trying to create a separate truth that is just what you portray over here for money.
Right.
Just morphing. That's
the best branding you can do.
That's the best branding you can do. And it's easy to remain consistent as well for the owner operator or just the operator or the owner or whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. I just think that's phenomenal. Also goes along with back to what I wanted to say. I think that no matter what you believe in, whatever the case may be, something set all this in motion. And people call it different names. But I think that God puts these desires in us that plague us, I think, at first, because we can't run from them. And when it comes to creatives that work in spaces like we do, it can get tough because it's hard to make these things lucrative in a way that they will support you financially. It's just tough if you have to figure it out on your own and you don't really have a plug. And those things can plague us. And sometimes we try to run from them until we realize that the thing I'm running from that's plaguing me, what's plaguing me is actually where my promise lives. So when you talk about being infatuated with this thing, infatuation, obsession, addiction, it's serious. And I talked about this in one of my videos, like if I am addicted, like if I'm addicted to heroin, I am willing to go to certain lengths to make sure that I acquire this drug and can get high and can have that experience and can live this lifestyle. If I'm truly addicted to personal development, if I'm addicted to writing, if I'm addicted to music or fashion, there are certain lengths and levels that I'm willing to go to attain this thing in a way that it'll support me so I can always do it. If I'm truly addicted, if I'm really infatuated with this thing, and if I'm infatuated or obsessed with this thing, I should not run. If I'm infatuated with culinary arts, I need to stop trying to be an accountant and I need to be a chef.
Right.
Period. Yeah. And I got to go to whatever lengths necessary to obtain that drug, to obtain that life. I need to get into culinary arts. I need to get as deep into it as I possibly can. And I will if I'm infatuated. So if that's what it takes, because there's someone out there who is willing to do something that you may or may not be afraid to do, but they're doing it without thinking right now. And you all are not necessarily trying to be in the same exact spot, but you're trying to go to the same place. And that person is already eliminating excuses for you right now. So if you plan to not necessarily stand out in the industry, because you don't have to try to be unique, but if you plan to make a lifestyle out of it, out of your infatuation, which you should,
and be the best you can possibly be at your craft. Be the
best that you can possibly be.
It takes being obsessed.
It takes
being
obsessed.
Willing to do whatever. It takes, like, for real. And I'm like, finally, it's been a 10-year run of just that. Like 16-hour work days for like the last, for real, almost like 9 years. And
I can second that for anybody who thinks she capped. Like, I've watched, you would post like videos and do
before social media stories, before Instagram.
You were doing it, and you were doing YouTube. And this was way back too. You were just putting in the grind. And I remember we talked about it, but after we had talked at that Friendsgiving, I was watching like your journey because I was up. So like I'm up at 3 a.m. in the office, and you got an Instagram like we still at it, and I'm like, we at it.
That's you can relate. Yeah. It's a like, you know, Nipsey calls it, it's a marathon, you know, and it's just, I think I would encourage everyone to, this is something I just learned, and I feel like I've heard it before, but goals, you know, you progress in life, you hit goals, milestones, and then it becomes a little more unclear on like what's next. And so I got to a point recently where I was like, what do I actually want? And I think that's something everybody should ask themselves. Like, yeah, if you're an accountant and you want to be a chef, like but be very clear. Like, it's not just I want to be a chef. Okay, cool. Like, let's think about the business side. You don't need to be a starving chef, right? Like, you could be just think through. And I think that's a lot of something I wish somebody told me when I was 19 is like, be very clear, write it down, write a plan, be in depth. Like, excuse my language, but fuck a business plan. Just put a plan together, because a business plan always pushed me away. Like, I hated the idea of a business plan because I didn't know how to put it together at 19 when I started my first business. So it scared me away. And it was like 50 pages, the one that I was sent.
What scares me.
That too. It's the same thing in my opinion, but just put a plan together, daunting. You know? Write that shit down, like map it out. Like every amazing person I look up to has said that. So that's something I want to reiterate.
Yes, and something that you are alluding to that I think I can paraphrase is to go with what you have, and start where you are and go with what you have. So even if you don't have the details figured out, not only does that go along with infatuation, because if you're genuine in your desires, you'll be willing. And I'm going to say it this way. Let me finish that statement. You'll be willing to sit down, write it down, or try to think of a plan. And sometimes that's as simple as, what do I want? Like, what do I actually want? Not what do I think I can have.
Right.
What do I want?
Because that's a difference.
What
Don't
do I just
limit
want?
yourself.
Don't limit yourself. What do you actually want? And don't try to water it down to what you believe that you can get right now. What do you truly want? And then sit down and one little step at a time. What do I know that I probably need to get that thing? And create just a little checklist, because as you start to follow those breadcrumbs, you'll find more breadcrumbs. And then you'll find out another thing and another thing. I might get on YouTube and be like, I know I need an LLC. Okay, so let me figure out, what does it take to get an LLC? I start looking at what it takes to get an LLC. So then I start learning about certificates of right standing. Then I start learning about business accounts. Then I start learning about the logo and the blah, 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 and the trademark. And I'm like, it's just a trail of breadcrumbs that will carry you. It's like the Pied Piper.
You know what's so cool? I'm so glad you're bringing this all up. Like, I'm literally filming a course, and I'm in the middle of filming a course, like with step-by-step guide how to start a clothing brand. Because like I literally just needed that. I just needed a little bit of guidance when I was 19, and I had.
I'm so glad you're doing that.
So I'm like, yo, I'm gonna. Like, I know this is not what you're supposed to do technically. Like, in this industry, you're supposed to keep everything secret. But I'm like, fuck that. Let me lay a blueprint out for you, so you don't have to spend $100,000 on school to see if you like it, and then be in debt the rest of your life. So putting together a very affordable course, and it launches very soon. And it talks about all that: branding, trademarks, business.
Please let me know if I can. I need to find a way that I can drive people toward the course. Let me know if I can get like an affiliate link or a reason to drive people to come through me to get to you.
I love that.
I'm not as far along in creating my courses as you are, but obviously I have like my programs, like brand development and stuff, and leadership training, all this stuff that I do. But I'm in the middle of trying to create some courses too, because it's like you said, all I needed, and I didn't necessarily need to meet myself, to bring me along. I just needed a little bit of guidance, and that would have saved me so much. It would have saved me so much, but also it would have just prepared me.
Wait, saved you so much what? Time, money,
energy, pain, like everything. And that's why I didn't put anything after it.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to find that for the audience, because it's
that's why I left it open, because it would have just saved me in general. It would have saved me. Also, for some things that can't be avoided, it would have prepared me. I would have been prepared, because being an entrepreneur comes with a lot of very unique lows, because it comes with very unique highs, and that's why I'm willing to go through the lows. I gotta be like no one else, so I can live like no one else, and I can have what no one else has. But it comes with some very unique, no one else has these lows, so just that little bit of preparation, or just like a heads up, like, hey, it's about to get real hot over there in that fire, but that's the way you gotta go.
Right.
So be prepared.
That's why I'm like, I'm being very real with my people that buy the course, audience, I don't know the word, but I'm like, yo, like, I'm not going to tell you it's easy. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it's going to be super hard. It's going to be the hardest thing you ever do in your life, because it really is. Like, if you're not willing to like bleed sweat for this shit, like, just stop. Like, but it's good. You only spent this amount of money and you didn't spend $100,000,
And
but either
I'm
way,
telling you,
it's really like real. Like, if you're not,
that stuff saves people so much time and headache.
Yes. And that's what I feel like we need. Like, why not waste, but like, why go 4 years into I have so many friends that have went to school and they're like $70,000 in debt, 4 years.
And still have no clue what they're doing.
And don't like what they just got a degree in. And I'm just like, man, I didn't take that route, thankfully. But I feel for the people who do. So I'm like, here's an alternative. College isn't for everyone. School's not for everyone. And in our, society, like, I mean, when I was 18, like, that day was really hard for me. The counselors came to my high school and were like, you need to pick one of these things, like you said, they tell us what we should be before we even know. Yeah. And I didn't want to be any of those things. And I was like, nah. And like, I would felt so lost for, I remember, like, months, and my parents really wanted me to go to college. I would have been the first one in my family to go. And I dropped out. I tried for them, but I dropped out, and I was like, I'm doing my thing. I'm doing it my way.
Same. Yeah. Because, and it's like you said, the machine that we call school here in this country is not designed for everyone, but people need to figure out what best fits them. So, for example, I have not graduated anything other than vocational school and this couple of certifications that I have, and there are people who I have strongly advised to finish school. And there are people who I have strongly advised to take a second look at why they're even there. Like seriously evaluate if you want to go here again. Like I don't see the point in you continuing to show up. But I've advised people both ways because it's like you said, you need to be true. Like you need to live in your truth for real. Don't just wake up and think it in your mind, but go live another person's life every day so you can finish school or
make someone happy.
To make someone else happy. And then you end up hating them.
Or your life. What's worse?
You hate your life. You hate them. It causes so much resentment and regret within yourself. You owe it to yourself and the world to be uniquely you.
Yes.
And I was saying this to someone yesterday. Dang, I can't even remember this quote. It was such a good quote. I need to start writing some of this stuff down. But it just comes on the fly. That's the problem. It just all comes on the fly. But nonetheless, yes, agreed with what you're saying. School is not for everyone. Everyone should remain a student throughout the whole course of their life. Though.
Right, life
people,
is school.
like, it's not, there are certain people who I know for a fact they need to continue to work the job that they currently have because they don't have the discipline to manage themselves. They don't have the discipline to study. So they haven't figured anything out. They don't really know. All they know is being spoon-fed kind of, or having another person. So I'm like, you either need to get an accountability partner. It's like going to the gym. You need a trainer. Some people need a trainer, and some people, self-starters, they're going to keep themselves. Like, I'm a dude who's going to wake up at the same time every single day. I have my checklist here in my phone and on my computer. I have systems set up for me to be successful.
That's awesome.
But there are dudes who I worked with at my last job who I told, you should probably stay here until you figure out something for yourself because you don't have the discipline to even get up in the morning unless someone else tells you to.
Yeah.
You're not going to get up. Like, you're not going to go out and you're not a hunter.
Yeah.
You're not going to go hunt for yourself. So,
but I mean, and then look, but there's hunters, and then there's also like there's so many roles within a business, right?
And
so like
roles.
I don't know. I have so many different perspectives on like corporate America because it's like
I use the numbers. I just want to say this real quick to complete that last statement so people don't get confused on my perspective. Everyone's not meant to be the number one. Some people need to be the number two. For real, and everyone benefits from that. And some people need to be number 85 because if they were number 2, that's too close to the sun. It's too hot. And some people are like, no, I'm okay being number 5. And that used to be me, but I need to be number 1. I need to be the number 1. And it's not because I want attention or I want to be the number 1. It's because I'm built to and willing to bear that load when there's no one else to blame. I was designed for that, even when I don't want to do it. So I'm someone who needs to be a number 1, and I'm number 1 at supporting people. So my whole company is built around, okay, so with that being said, I also have people who I believe you might not need to go be an accountant for Walmart. Maybe you need to get with your friend just started a business, or they just started a clothing line, and they're not trying to sit around and do the numbers. Be a contractor. Be a contractor, so you don't have to figure out so many. Maybe you don't have to get leads for yourself or figure out or hunt as much.
And
but
there's
you can
teamwork,
still live
right? Teamwork makes the dream work. That's what I was getting at because it's like I'm a creator, but I'm not a good manager. I'm not a good accountant. I'm learning. Over the last 10 years, I'm learning what I'm not good at, and I'm learning to outsource those things because.
Oh, that's a whole podcast right there.
Man, it just takes too much energy. Doing the things you hate. So.
I got a blog that's about to drop called Delegate or Die. And because we, as leaders in our own right, whatever it is you do, especially as entrepreneurs, you cannot hold everything and still expect to have room to receive the next thing. And people need your hands empty. People need your hands empty. The people who follow you need you to have open hands to receive the things that they get to work with, and to receive the resources that everyone benefits from. And if you are carrying everything in your business, you're doing it wrong and it won't last. You are taking someone's promise away from them. If I'm not a graphic designer and I'm a writer and I'm good at graphic design, but I need to outsource it so I can dig deeper into writing, and I'm stealing someone else's identity and their promise by not allowing them to work on the graphic design for me, I'm robbing them. I'm robbing them and robbing myself of an opportunity to get deeper into my own identity. So delegate or die.
Yep.
You got to, if your hands are full, how you supposed to swim? So you're gonna sink. You're gonna sink trying to carry the whole boat.
It's not even possible. And I mean, depending on how big you want your company, or you have to like outsource and scale.
Yep. Even if you're just a one-man band and you're a consultant and you get contracted in, you're not trying to have to manage all the leads yourself and all the systems yourself and
there's too many components.
Develop all the computer programs that you use. You outsource. You might subscribe to a certain service that helps you get leads, like Thumbtack or something. Like you might, you know what I'm saying? It's I'm not running all my campaigns from scratch. I'm using an ad builder from Instagram and I'm paying and they'll run my ad so that I'm not gonna every day have to, you know what I'm saying, and crunch the numbers and all that. I'll peep them later. Yeah. You know, that is outsourced. I'm outsourcing to Facebook by letting them handle my video ads and campaigns. If I so choose.
And that's what they're meant for, and that's what they're greatest at.
Boom.
And that's how it works.
That's how it works. Tagline. Let's get it.
I love it.
So I want to make sure I hit this bullet point before I get too deep in that other bag, because I could just go on for days with you for real.
I know. That's why I came. I was like, yo, good conversation.
Oh, I'm so happy you came. I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to, honestly. I didn't know. You know, I never know where Sam is at.
Well, and I'm like, I have 2 weeks left in Denver, and I'm like,
I got 4 weeks left.
Crazy. Really? Where are you going?
I'm moving to Maryland.
Okay, cool. What's out there?
So I'll be back doing some work here and there, but yeah, I'm moving out there. So my consultancy, just the way everything that I'm doing is set up, it'll be a good environment for me to grow and get the contracts I need to sustain. Also, the real estate ventures that I'm getting into, a lot of my mentors are there, whether they're for real estate or for my coaching and consulting company. So I have a lot of help in that area.
That's cool.
Yep. And then my girlfriend's PhD program is at University of Maryland.
Okay, perfect.
So it just happened to work out that way. It's funny. Like, we weren't even together when we were looking at where we were moving, and then she got accepted to that, and then I was like, oh, okay, I got through this. You're familiar with Eric Thomas?
No.
Eric, when you want to succeed, as bad as you want to breathe?
Yes.
E.T., the hip-hop preacher.
E.T.
Okay, so Extreme Execution.
Okay.
I ended up going through his training program and all that, and they trained me, and I got certified, and a lot of them are based in that area.
Okay, cool.
So some of the people that I've been working with and some mentors of mine, like Jamal King for the real estate and all that, are in that side of the country. So it'll be a cool spot for me, I think. So I can take off and start doing what I'm doing. I've been here a long time.
And there's only so much you can do here.
Yes,
like, I love Denver. Yes. It's my city. It's where I'm from. And don't take that wrong, but there's only so much you can do. That's why they call it the box state.
You got to get out of your zip code.
Yeah.
Like, people got to get out of their zip code after a certain amount of time. Yeah, like, at this point, I'm just recycling things I've already done. So
with different people.
Yeah, exactly. I got to go get around different people. So actually, kind of with that being said, you're a super inspirational figure in several communities. And I mentioned that earlier that I wanted to talk about that. I don't want to necessarily say, what do you think about? I want to say, how have you been able to, and have you actually sat down and thought about your ability to impact people's minds positively using fashion, which you don't even, it's an interesting form of communication to be able to impact people's minds positively. And what have you infused into fashion to be able to do that? Because like you said, you are an extremely motivational speaker and inspiring individual in general. If you never said a word, if a person just followed your journey, they should be inspired to get the hell up and do something with themselves. And the fact that you've been able to do that in the fashion industry, we don't see that often. Like, we got Kanye West, we got Lil Fresh Sam. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody else is kind of silent. It's like you and Kanye.
I appreciate you. Man, yeah, it's a tough industry to break into, but what was the original question? Inspiration.
So,
how do I combine the two?
Yes, how have you been able to do that
so lately,
so well?
I'm getting back into this, but 2 ways. One, I always incorporate some kind of quotes or words or some kind of symbolism within every jacket I make, whether it's hidden and or not, it's there. And I actually just posted this jacket I'm getting ready to put out is a jacket. It actually sold already, but I remember this is what's inspiring me to continue to make clothing that provokes thought. Is I was on I was with a client in downtown LA like a couple years ago. We were at Slut Walk, and of all things, like, you know, you can imagine the demographic in the city at that moment. And we're walking, and this lady, like, I don't know who or what, but she looked kind of like run down. Like, I don't know if she was homeless, and it's just, she looked like kind of like she was having a really bad day.
Like rugged.
And I don't want to like judge, but I'm just kind of trying to give you an imagination picture. And so she's like, hey, I needed to see that. And it was like, and she had tears in her eyes. And she was like, what? And I was wearing this jacket that I made, and I didn't even think about it, but it said, "Fill the hole in your soul." And so I put thought-provoking messages on these jackets, and I just happened to be wearing that one that day. And, you know, she saw it, and it just impacted her so greatly. And that's what makes me want to continue to make
huge.
Yeah, jackets with thought-provoking messages. So I'm literally just in the phase of remaking a lot of those kind of jackets. And then 2, I'm trying to partner with this guy, Charlie. Like, I'm supposed to be in LA tonight. I wasn't able to go, but he is changing the world through like helping people. And that's something I really care about. I decided, I lost a couple people I really cared about during the last, year of COVID. And I realized after sitting through 2 funerals in 2 weeks, I was like, yo, I don't want to just be talked about as a fashion designer. Like, I want to be more than I am more than. And I decided I'm gonna dedicate half my life to helping people, whatever that looks like. So all of a sudden I run into this guy named Charlie. He's doing that at a really large scale. He's just like literally in 3 days raised $120,000 for a homeless man, changed his entire life. He's throwing him a show in Beverly Hills tonight.
Wow.
And so me and him had a conversation. I'm going out to LA, and like I said, I was supposed to be out there tonight, but next couple of weeks, and I'm gonna change the world through fashion, like with him. And I'm just whatever that looks like, whether we create like a facility in Skid Row to give people jobs creating fashion, or whether we like make merch that inspires people. Like I'm gonna do that in a lot of different ways.
It's interesting that I'm glad that you prefaced that with the woman when you were at the Slut Walk and she saw the jacket, because a lot of people hear the word impact and inspiration and motivation, all this, and they think of these things that are seemingly huge. They think of the big obvious things, things that are just the flashy stuff, like things that could be seen from space. But a lot of people, you prefacing that with the story, with the jacket, you don't get to choose whose life you impact or how impactful your impact is on their life. So if you just keep it simple in a way that, and do it in a way that you can remain consistent, that is the best way to do it. Don't try to always do the big explosive things, because how consistent are you able to be in that? Do them when you can, but just do the small consistent things that you can do on a daily basis. Wear the jacket, create the jacket, make the t-shirt, make the hat, make the Instagram video, talk to the people you're walking by. I had an unusual, it's crazy. This is when I realized that I needed to stop zipping my lips and start talking, because I had an unusual experience. It was after an event at Boney's Barbecue downtown Denver. I don't remember what event it was after, but I was doing business with them at the time. So it was after an event, and I was outside, and it was like super young cats. They were probably either seniors or fresh out of high school, all of them. And I was there literally doing business, but I was leaving. And this homeless dude goes in traffic and just like lays in the middle of the street. And I'm like, oh, he just gave up. So I go and I'm looking around and no one's doing anything. They're just looking. So I grab this dude and I drag him out of the street, and I gave him $20 and I started praying for him. Like, I grabbed his hand and I was like, yo, wake up. And I like hit him. I'm like, wake up. And I just prayed like hella strong for this dude. I gave him instructions on exactly what to do with that 20. I said, you don't go spend the 20 right now. I said, obviously you've been drinking. I said, put the 20 in your pocket. Don't spend it right now. Tomorrow, do boom, boom, boom. And then from there, you'll be straight. You'll figure it out. I look up and I didn't even notice all these kids were around also handing him money. And like they had I was so focused, I didn't realize they had their hands on my back because they were praying with me. And I'm like, it's something I thought was just so simple, just acting on impulse. Like, you were there supporting whoever you were supporting with the people you were with at the Slut Walk, wearing the jacket, walking in your truth, just doing the things that you could. And this woman's, her perspective was shifted, her paradigm. That dude, I just happened to be there, and instead of me just looking like, dang, that's messed up, just acting instinctively, boom, 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 that's what makes the difference. Just caring in a tangible way, you know, right, like even if it's just action. And that makes such a huge difference because it not only provokes others to act on the things that they care about in the ways that they care, but you don't get to choose the way or the life that you impact. You don't get to choose that. Even like, I'm sure you get the DM sometimes with somebody in Australia. I had a dude in Canada one time. This kid watched one of my Instagram lives and he was like, yo, I've been so depressed living at home with my parents. They don't support my photography. I've never been a photographer. I wasn't even talking about photography. I swear I wasn't. But he's like, I've been suicidal this week and I didn't know what to do. And you just inspired me to keep taking my pictures and blah, blah. I'm like, bro, I had like 5 people on my live that night. It was like 12 a.m. I wasn't like doing lives consistently back then. I didn't have a big social media, but I was just like, I can't keep shutting up.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like I can't keep shutting my mouth.
Yep.
And I just, when you were just talking about that, I'm glad you prefaced it with that because there are people out there who they have so much inside of them and their excuses they don't view them as excuses. Some people either are ashamed of what they have or they're just kind of like, no, it ain't that. And like somebody else will figure it out. It has to be you. It has to be you in the moment that it is you.
I don't remember the exact quote, but it said like, your like trials and tribulations will be someone else's survival guide or something like that. And it's like, that's
if they didn't say it that way, they should have.
I mean, I think that's the quote. If not, I'm gonna make it one. But
that's
yeah,
the
for
one.
real, man. And like,
that's the one.
I really feel like, you know, fashion is cool, creating is cool. And I remember this guy, man, Anthony, shout out to him. He like, I was going through a really tough time. It was right when I saw you last, but I was going through a really tough time. And this guy, Anthony, like, I don't know why he's a friend of mine, but he was like, hey, let's go for a walk. We went for a walk. He was like, not to be rude. I'll never forget this conversation. He was like, not to be rude, but like, I know you love fashion and everything, but I feel like you're meant for more. And he's very in touch with like God person. And so I feel like God was speaking through him to me that day, but I was like, wow, that's what I needed to hear. And so since then, literally I got on a stage like 3 months later, I was speaking at the biggest women's event for Startup Week that year. And like, I had multiple people come up to me and be like, yo, you inspired me. And I'm like, yo, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I thought I made a fool of myself out there. You know, I ran like 4 minutes over time. Like, yeah, but I was just me. And that's what I've consistently been able to do is just be me and share like my trials and tribulations, not just the happy, but the sad too. And like, that's something I've been working on lately. Like I said, I'm working on a lot of mental health content, documentaries. It's just, yeah, like, yo, suicide is at an all-time high. And it's just, like, we're all human. And, like, COVID made trendy. Like, we're all in this together. We really are in all this together in life, you know? Mm-hmm. So we need to act like it and remember, like, we're human. And whether that means, like, you look at each other like brothers and sisters or friends, whatever. But, like, just care more.
Yeah, there's 2 things. I've been watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And there's this group called the Flag Smashers in there that they're like fighting. They're supposed to be a terrorist group, but then they start learning more about the group. And what they stand for is actually like a great cause. Like they go about it in unusual ways, but like they have a great cause. And their slogan is one world, one people. And it's just like we're all human and no one is an immigrant. Like we're all here occupying planet Earth. So treating people a certain way because you have declared this border, your nation is unacceptable. Yep. One world, one people. And the way I say it is we all just got here. None of us are really going to be here that long. So we got to stop treating each other like, you know what I'm saying? We got to get the log out of our eye instead of focusing on their splinter. Treat everyone like a whole human being because we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
We're all literally in the same boat. And it's like you said, like COVID reset a lot of people in a way that made them realize that. I think for me, it just kind of, it gave me an advantage because it brought everybody to the level that I was living at anyway. And so I got on top in a very unique way throughout this pandemic. But for a lot of people, that is kind of what they needed to kind of be like, yo, I got to take all these different lenses that I'm viewing people through off and realize that you're a human being and I got to treat you with care in certain ways because I also need my environment to care for me in certain ways.
Yeah.
And me realizing my necessities in a new way might help. It helps a lot of people realize, oh, they also have these same basic human necessities and some people have been deprived of those. So being able to serve your community in a way like that Startup Week for the women's event and going with what you had, like you didn't have so much experience in that at all You may not have had any
I didn't
public
have
speaking,
any.
period.
Yeah.
And that's one of the quotes I have written up on my chalkboard in my bedroom is go with what you have. Just like when I wrote my book, no experience, period. I didn't have no experience. I ain't have no mentor helping me do nothing, never nothing. I got a download from the spirit that told me what to say and when to say it. I wrote notes down. I was told it wasn't for me, and I went with what I had. I ain't have nothing figured out. And I didn't do it for the money, luckily, but if I were doing it for the money, I wouldn't have even known how.
Yeah. And that's
But self-published, self-everything, create the covers and all
That's
that.
awesome.
But the information in the book, getting to certain people and helping people, it's a very short, but whatever the case, I just went with what I had, you know, and you going with what you have and people going with what they have and just expressing themselves, expressing care, taking whatever they do to a more personal level so that people, because people are persons, so we all can become personal with each other no matter what. All we need is a point of relation. So you putting something like that on the back of a jacket creates a point of relation between you and a person who needed that. You went with what you had and look at the impact that you had because you were willing to go.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I said this one time and it was crazy because the guy reacted funny, but I don't like, I just.
And shout out to that dude.
Well, and it was great. It was,
about.
he's a famous dancer, but he was just like not expecting that. But he was like, you're so dope. You're so dope. Like people always are like, yo, like they hype me up. And I'm just like, yo, like I'm just like a vessel. Like I'm just doing what I do. Like I didn't give myself this gift. I didn't give myself these thoughts necessarily, you know, like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like,
we don't choose our ideas. They just come.
Well,
like,
yeah. And shout out to God. Because like, I'm grateful for the talents I have, but I don't ever like, you know, give myself that credit as always, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, partially, but it was a team collaboration.
Yeah, like you had to sharpen these skills and, you know what I'm saying, become the sharp tool in the shed that you are, but you didn't get to choose that you were that tool. Like
Right.
It's not our choice.
It's not.
And ideas, I don't take credit for ideas because where was the idea before it dropped on your head?
Exactly.
And like you didn't just come up with anything. Even when the thought came up in your mind, where was it before that?
Right.
Like a fully formulated,
gift.
a fully prepared idea just for you. Where was it before it got to you? So like, and that's a perfect perspective to have. You can't really take credit for that. Like, but you being that vessel and being the one who's willing to do it is just super admirable. There's a lot of people out there who are just not willing yet. And hopefully they get to that point because there's so much in all of us. But they need to live in that infatuation. They need to live in it.
And I mean, like, you know, it's either you want it or you don't. Like, I tried to mentor a lot of people early on in my career and actually throughout the whole entire thing. And I kind of got burnt out of like trying to want more for people than they wanted for themselves. And so I just got real. Like, yo, it's like either you want it or you don't. Either you're going to work really fucking hard for it or you're not. Either you're going to give it all and like sacrifice your entire life and everything in it, or you're not. And like, that's literally the decision you have to choose from. It's not like an in-between. It's not, oh, I'll be halfway in. It's not easy. But I think we live in a time where, you know, we glamorize like entrepreneurship and the like freedom of it, but it's not at all. It's
People
like,
make it look pretty.
Yeah, and it's not. Like, you know, 2 a.m.
No.
trying to figure shit out like for 16 hours.
That's the one thing I tell people, I can't guarantee, the people I coach, I can't guarantee anyone anything except that it's going to suck. I can guarantee you it's going to suck. I can guarantee you it's going to get hard and it's going to get dirty. It's going to get real dirty. I can't guarantee you nothing else. But if you can accept the consequences and the requirements and the sacrifice before you even have to make it, you're so much better off. Just imagine all these different scenarios. Imagine how rough it's going to get. Be honest about it. Really figure it out. Do the digging and the research. And if you're cool with that, then you're the one for the job. For sure.
Yep.
100%. It's you. You got it. It's you, bro. But if you're not, you got to be honest. Some people are not that person. But if you are, also don't play yourself. You know you're that person.
And I feel like
step out on faith.
I really feel like everybody could be that person. Like this woman, I remember she was like arguing with me, saying that not everyone's special and not everyone has a gift. And I'm like, nah, I really believe like everyone is special and everyone has a gift and everyone has a purpose. Whether they do it or not, that's a different story.
That's a different story.
Everyone's got a purpose. Everyone's got potential. It's like, are you comfortable? Do you want to try.
It's because people always imagine those big. You talk about gifts, talents, and purposes and things. People always imagine like the big flashy stuff,
Like celebrity, make
yeah, like
it.
celebrity.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Like,
that. It doesn't have to look like that.
Fame and even fortune, like that's not tied. That's not a thing that is tied to your gift and your talent.
And it doesn't define success.
It does not. Define
like I already
success.
did that, and I learned that. Like
it does not define success at all whatsoever. I've done so many things that people think define success, only to wake up the same way I was yesterday.
Right. And whether you're, happy or sad, you're going to wake up the same.
And I've done different things and woke up happier. It's like things that no one thinks define success.
Yeah.
That I never thought would matter to me.
Right.
And you do them and you wake up the next day and you're like, damn, that was like, I'm so glad that, like, that's crazy. I even have this on my resume. It'd be something so small. It'd be something so small.
But impactful, right?
But impactful.
That's the goal.
But impactful. Exactly. Facts. I'm going to land the plane. And there's two things we're going to do. The first thing is, just so you can prepare yourself, I got a lightning round that's coming up. I'm going to ask you hella questions that have nothing to do with anything we just talked about.
Oh, okay.
I just need your quick answers. It's just a little stupid stuff. Like my favorite color. I'm not going to ask you that one so I can say that. But like, it'd be like favorite color, like red. Like, hopefully that's the truth because I'm taking it to the bank.
Okay. I don't have a lot of favorites, but we'll see.
Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to do some of that. But before I do... I want to have you tell people where they can find your clothing and anything else that you have content-wise so that they can consume it.
Yeah, for sure. At Lil Fresh Sam on Instagram and all platforms. Twitter.
At Lil Fresh Sam, just how it sounds.
LIL. And then infatueclothing.com. And it's INFATUE clothing.com. And same on social at Infatu.
Yeah. All right. And I'm just going to go encourage everybody, even if you don't plan on buying something, you need to go peep this stuff, become inspired and become motivated to be the best you and walk in your infatuation. Straight up. All right. So now we're going to get into this lightning round. You ready?
Yes.
Favorite movie?
Home Alone.
Ooh, that's a good answer. The first one?
Yeah, both. One and two.
1 and 2. That's a good answer. Has anyone said that yet, Eric? I don't think anyone said Home Alone yet. That's fire.
I'm different.
He was in the real trap house.
Right.
Favorite book?
First one that comes to mind is Four Agreements.
That's so interesting. That keeps presenting itself to me. I need to read that.
Oh, you haven't?
It's interesting because every time I get to talking, people have told, "Oh, have you read the Four Agreements?" I actually haven't, but
you're gonna find it.
It's on my list,
valuable.
so I'm gonna have to just buy it. Interesting. Okay. Favorite food?
Green chili. But like
that's a very classic New Mexico answer.
Fried potatoes.
I'm telling you, that's a super Albuquerque answer right there.
Yeah, but none are like Colorado. Albuquerque wasn't, and none is like my mom's. Let me clarify that.
Man, you know what? Colorado has some fire Mexican food, fire green chili, but that's tough. I like Colorado's better because the New Mexico is too damn hot. It's too hot for me, and it's a little bitter.
Yeah, it's kind of different. It's like a different consistency.
Different consistency. Here, I think correct me if I'm wrong, but here it's a little bit more, like you could just eat the green chili and it not be soup.
Yeah, like It's got some flour. I just learned on Sunday how to make it. The
consistency's different. Oh, word?
Yeah, my dad taught me.
It's so funny because I just learned like 2 weeks ago how to make it. And I haven't made any yet, but I learned about 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
It's not a recipe that I probably am going to use because it's a lot like the green chili from New Mexico. So it tastes pretty good. It's a little bit more bitter and it's hella hot. But I like the more.
I love the hella hot.
That's tricky for me. I like the heat, but I got some, you know what I'm saying? It's hard on my tongue. It's hard on my tongue. Let me say that. Favorite person right now?
In general?
Yeah. Could be anybody.
No, that's a tough one. Favorite person right now? I'm just gonna say Charlie, just because I've been obsessed with him and like I don't want to say obsessed with him. I've just been like really inspired by him. I don't find very many people that I would consider a role model. Like my two role models are JoJo and Michael Jordan. So like I don't find a lot of role models I look up to. But this guy Charlie, like I really look up to what he's doing. So that's probably my favorite person right now.
Solid. I'll take that. And I'm going to actually swap the last two that I normally do. What's your favorite accomplishment to date?
Damn, that's another hard one. I don't really, I don't celebrate a lot of accomplishments. It's something I'm working on. But I would say from a whole perspective, just being able to do what I love for a living, whether that was for a lot of money or a little money, but just being able to live off of it.
Facts. I can agree. I can dig that.
For like a long time too.
Yeah. Sustainable.
Shit's tough.
Yeah, not like today.
Yeah.
Okay. I can dig that. Do you have like a mantra right now?
It's a great day to be alive.
You know, I got that. I kind of got that. I could have guessed probably.
You should have known.
I should have known.
Or create or die.
Create or die. It's a great day to be alive. Create or die. That's a bar right there. I might have to put that in a song. That's a good one. I can dig it. All right. And then as I land the plane for real this time, specifically, anything that you have going on right now, like event-wise or anything people need to look out for? You did mention that there's a documentary and stuff like that. What should people be looking out for? And where can people find the stuff that you have going on, if it's an event or a collection or anything? And then your personal social media, which I think you gave, but maybe a reminder.
Yeah, just definitely follow me on Instagram at Lil Fresh Sam, because I'm doing the course. And if you're interested in building a clothing brand, like this course is for you, whether you've started one and failed or just want to try and attempt it. And then 2, I'm putting together a clothing drive / food drive for the homeless on July 3rd, sponsored by Be Good. And
it's in like a week.
Yeah, no. And I'm like kind of a little bit behind, but it's okay because I have I'm donating like half my closet. So,
got you. Oh, wow.
And I want to make sure it goes to the homeless. So I'm just making it an
I'm
event.
gonna have to become homeless real quick.
No, but come through. Be Good is giving 10% off purchases. Kiona is a chef and she's going to be cooking nutritious food for the homeless. And then we're going to go give it out on 4th of July. Because I don't want to just give them shit.
Yep. A lot of people do.
And, you know, that's cool. Like, give to the homeless. Like, I encourage, whether you have a good shit or bad shit.
But if you have good stuff, give them the good stuff.
Yeah, and if you got
give
the time,
stuff
right?
you would want.
Exactly.
If you have it.
And, like, they don't get a lot of good meals. So we're just trying to provide them a good meal.
Facts.
So that's something I'd really love people to know about and be a part of.
Definitely. Have you named the course yet?
It's how to create a clothing brand.
How to create
Very
a clothing
simply
brand. Follow at Lil Fresh Sam. Get involved with this food and clothing drive for sure. That's number one. But also go ahead and peep the social media where you can find all that information. Obviously, y'all know where to find me because you are watching and listening to this. So tribalhaven.me. Tap in with me if you need anything from her, how to connect with her. Tap in with me if you want to do that. Once that comes out, I will be sure to post and just do whatever I can to create attention surrounding what you're doing. You got some real phenomenal stuff going on, and you already know I'm a supporter. So
I appreciate you.
Facts.
We're about to get you I don't even have affiliate links. I'm about to bring that just for you.
You can create an affiliate link where
it's happening.
Just if you just do that, and oh man.
I got you.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate
I'm gonna make sure I drive some attention and get some people going with that because I know people who need to do it. That's phenomenal. So, all right. Well, y'all have.
Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, thank you for
awesome.
being here. I'm glad that you came. This was more than I could have hoped for, and I've taken up a lot of your time, but I appreciate every second of it. Lil Fresh Sam, folks, she been tried, and it's all true. Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Solid.